Welcome everyone, all my friends out there. I'm so glad you're here today. This is a bonus free session, so be sure to share with everybody you can think of. This is the year of the wood snake. It actually started yesterday. It goes for the whole year, and throughout our lesson today, I'll be giving you some little tidbits, things that might be interesting to you if you're following along with me. I'm real grateful that you're here. So let's talk about what we're going to do, where we're going to go. The first thing I will show you is some supplies. I'll bet you'd like to see where we're going to go. All right, let's talk about where we're going to go then. This is it. So I do have a template for you. I would really like it if you would download it. It will make our life and yours a lot easier. So take a picture of this, screenshot it if you can, save it. Here's another version that I made in red. What could be more appropriate than Chinese New Year, the year of the snake? And, and how fun is this? This is another thing that I found. And actually my husband found it. He gets total credit for it. It's the Lunar New Year, and this was at the post office, and I just thought it was as cool as it could be. So I got a copy to show you. One other very fun thing that draws me to this, and I don't know if you can see this. I certainly hope so. I'll try to show it at different angles. Every year my husband gives one of these to the grandkids, and so they're going to get all 12 years by the time they're finished with this. He gives them a large one when they were born, and then they have a box that they'll put the following 12 in. So just fun stuff to share, right? Okay, now back to where we're going. You'll need scrap paper. I'm going to use my jelly rolls, my Stardust. You will want some color pencils or something sparkly if you have it. These are the things that you're going to need to grab, and this is our process, and I'll go through this with you. So maybe make a copy of it, screenshot, and then we will get started. So I'm going to use all of these supplies, but I'm going to get them out of the way for now. I am going to use some color pencils toward the end. I do have my sharpener because I will need to keep these sharp or it won't work very well for me. I'm also going to need my eraser, maybe, not positive about that. You're going to need something that's about 5.5 inches. If you have your helix, all the better. If you don't, then just grab something that's about that size. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure and cut a circle about this 5.5 diameter. And the next thing I'm going to do, if you're following along with me, is I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to put the dot right about here. I'm going to try to hold onto the two sides, and I'm going to make a mark all the way around. And I can do that in pen or pencil, your choice. And then I'm set with my helix for the day. But what I'm going to do now is I've measured this, and this is about 1 inch, the inside circle. I'm going to divide this in half with just a light tick mark. I'm going to divide the other side too with just, again, a light tick mark. And the next thing I'm going to do is between these two, I'm going to measure, eyeball it, of course. Although you're welcome to do this however you like. That is your job and your fun to have. This is between this one and this. Intermediates, we called them in geography class when I was teaching. Divide this and this in half, and then do it again. So each of you will end up with 16 equal parts, I hope. It will always have been my plan that you would end up with 16 parts. So the one down here, you'll want to just write by hand, unless you are printing the template, the Happy Chinese New Year or 2025 or whatever you choose to do and say. So from here, I will divide all of these around evenly, and I cut out a snake that I will put on here and trace on. And then from here, I'm going to go over to the template that I already made for you. I used the nicest cardstock that I had on hand. And now I've got to talk to you about the first pattern that we're going to do. The first pattern is very loosely based on a pattern called Ambler. An Ambler is a headquarters pattern. Ambler kind of goes like this. Start with a box. See how perfect this is. And then you're going to come around from any of the four sides. You can start, bring a line up, another line over, and you are mirroring or aura-ing your outside box. And then here you come just inside a little bit. So come around again and aura-ing again. Back down. Your aura is obviously smaller now. And then over here like this. So do you see how I started here at this end? I'm going to put a little divider or a stop right there. Now, if this was Ambler, there are things you can do to shade this. You would shade on the sides if you wanted to. Maybe a shade here again. Lots of cool things you can do with this to divide it up. But what I'm going to do with it, it looks like something like this when I finish. So you see, I'm going around, around, around. Where'd I start? Out here, 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 in, and then divided. So that's the way I did my Ambler. Now I switch sides every time. So here, and I divided the red in, so it becomes hard to see. I started at the top, go down, around, 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 inside, and I stopped there. I tried to make it follow where I started is the end where I stopped, if that makes sense to you. Let's do it one more time. This time I started here, and I did try to alternate just for the fun of it. You don't have to do that. You can do them all the same. Starting here, go around, 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 inside now, aura, and I started at the area that I stopped before. And this one will be the last of the four, and I'll go around the outside. Same thing. So that's where we're going to start with Ambler today. While I have you here, I'm going to do the other pattern called Sunflower. Sunflower is by Livia Chaw, and I don't know if she's a CZT or not. We start with Printemps, which I like. A substantial dot, around and around and around, and tie it off. Here's what's fun about this. You're going to make a series of half petals, or whatever you want to call them. They kind of always look like puppy ears to me, but you call them what you like, right? Okay, on the inside, this is what Livia has done. She's made it go round and round and round and round like that, and then possibly darkening in here if you want to. So here's where I used the sunflowers again in my pattern. So I used them just randomly around here, and that might be fun. The Chinese lanterns are something that is just my own creation and my own to do. I've got this heart pattern that is Zentangle, and then these are just my own wild pattern again. So back to it. We're going to start with that outside. You have your paper all nicely cut. I hope you're ready for me. You can start with any size of pen you want. I'm probably going to start with a PN pen. So I'm going to start here. Aura. In. Down the other second side, excuse me. Come back. Aura up. Around. You see how evenly spaced these are. This will go fast. And then where I've started is where I'm going to put my stop mark. And just for the fun of it, I am going to try to alternate. Come right out here. Come round, round. Or you see how you never even lift your pen once unless you want to. You do not have to. And there's your stop. So this side and this side, now I'm going to do over here and come this way. Across the top. Remember, you can do these in any order you choose. Around, aura, and this helps me know that I'm going to end right there where I started. Last one down in this corner here. And stop. So I'm going to let you finish this on your own, and we will meet up at the end here in just a few minutes. So go ahead and I will catch you at the end. And that's that. Didn't that turn out nice? That's so much fun. Just fun. Okay, so now we're ready to work on the inside. And what I'm going to do here, and then we'll get some color going on this in just a minute. But let's get our Sioux flowers in, and also maybe the lanterns. So I like the lanterns, obviously, to come in the pretend world from the top. So I'm going to start with making a couple of sticks that go together like a cone. Make an orb to kind of hold the sticks is what I'm thinking. Another. And then I'm going to make a wide-ish stick. Now this is just the way I make mine, and they are freehand, so there is no example to follow. So from the lantern, if you choose to follow mine, the first one's going to go straight down, and then commas or parentheses on either side. My way of doing this is tight to the middle. Again, this is my own concoction, I guess you'd say. And then I like to have a few little things going down. So I'm going to do another one, maybe at a bit of a different height. And I'll end up with 3 of these. Just because 3 is a number that makes sense to me for a project like this. But you know, you do what you like, right? Oh, I think that they're just adorable. Okay, let's do another one. Over on this side, maybe? Your pen size is greatly going to affect how these turn out. I'm using my Pt1 pen, which is a little thicker. I sure hope you like this project. I just think it's a blast. So now I've got my lanterns done. Let's go ahead and flesh out or put some interest inside your snake, our snakes. So you can see what I did here. I put some designs in here following along. So we'll just do it randomly, but I will switch over to a lighter weight pen. My 01 would be, or I have my 03 handy today. So I'm going to start with what I consider his nose. And then from the nostrils, I'm going to make kind of a longish inward slant on the other side as well. His eyes, to me, can go either direction, but they're just kind of a teardrop. Again, this is all supposition of what I think he probably would look like. And then I thought maybe he should have, this make-believe snake should have a diamond head. He could have, you know, look up your snake or a snake picture and see what kinds of treatments you might enjoy putting in here. And one of the things that I did like to do was as you can see, is a bead line down one side. There really isn't room for both sides, and to get some drawing on here as well. So I'm going to take a minute and put a bead line. In some cases, this bead line has a wider area to work with, and that matters. But pretty much my bead line is just small scallops that I'll be able to put some red into at the end when we get to that point. I'll put some music on here for us to finish up with. Voila, as my granddaughter would say. So on the other side, I believe I have room for some of these half moon heart or flowers, kind of like. So I do a double a spiral, or excuse me, half moon, and then I go over it, and then I put like the teardrops that are in for his eyes, or her eyes. It could be a her, you know. Who's to say? Put as many of these suns as you want. So a crescent, aura, and then the teardrop shape for some kind of a smallish flower. That's my goal, my idea, my goal anyway. So I'm randomly putting these periodically. You can see I have some room, more area room than others. Oh my. Supposed to be fun. So kind of let yourself do some wonky things here. The beauty of Zentangle is nobody's going to look at one little spot. Gives me a lot of freedom, and you too. I have to keep turning. I'm sure you do too. So cool. I think I have room for maybe one more here. I think so. Okay, I like to put a couple of little treatments in here like this, just to give him kind of a movement. To do that, I'm just going to put a series of sticks or curvy sticks following his body all the way along. Just kind of gives him a movement. And then I'm going to put a series of dots alongside of that stick. You may not or may not be able to see them. So it's a hefty dot and then two lighter ones. Big dot, two lighter ones. No room there. Just light ones. Okay, the snake is finished. Let's take a minute and put some of those fun, well, actually, I guess I'd like to do that flower arrangement next. This one that I have here. So let's go ahead and do that somewhere at the bottom where there's lots of room. So what I did is put a spike up and back down. And then I put 3 leaves. And I thought I'd put a little bit of a dot treatment at the top, just because it seemed fun to me. There really isn't room for much else in there. Another spike. And the dot treatment, and maybe another one this direction. Spike back. Oop, that one got to be awfully thin. Well, that happens. That one's just starting, haha. Okay, I really, really like this poke leaf here. So I am gonna add some poke leaves. I'm not sure it quite goes with the theme, the Chinese theme, but here's a poke leaf. So I do a double stick, I do a frown, and then I come underneath after a bit of a space, go around like that. Here, let me show you bigger. Poke leaf. I got my double stick. I put a frown on the top. I come down just a little and come out and back in. If you already know how to do this, then just ignore this quick tutorial, I like to add a little thickening on one side. Just gives it a little bit of a good look, I think. Again, it's a treatment. You don't have to do any of that. So I was just thinking that maybe it would look cool in this area here. Frown. And maybe I'll gather another one here. Going to be some lifting of my pen in this region for sure, but I like the look of it, so I hope you do too. I think it's kind of cute. Let's put some Sioux flowers in now. Remember, that's the spiral. Tie your spiral off. Put those petals in. They can be small or large. My big fight is always that I work too small. There's a couple different ways you could do that. The first one I already showed you is where we come along here like this and darken in the middle. Isn't it cute? It just seems to suit, don't you think? Okay, maybe we'll put a couple more in. Spiral. Maybe we'll change this one up a bit. So I'm going to put the puppy ears, or whatever you want to call them, around that outside. And this time I'm going to make an aura around each of the petals, just for fun and something different to look at. Again, this is your work. You make this the way you see it. Make another one. I have room. Petals or puppy ears. I love this pattern. It is so flexible and great. I'm going to leave this open. In case I remember, I will put a little red in here. Voila. Isn't that cute? So I'm going to put some substantial dots all over the place, like black dots, as interest. And always I like to put them in threes, but that's a personal choice. This project really came together quickly for us. I hope you like it. I'm going to add color to this now and a ton of shading. So I will do the shading and then I will show you the color in a second video. Okay, so we are set and ready to put shading on. Shading, we do, even if we're doing color, we still do want to add shading. This can kind of really lift up off the page if you do shade. So I'm going to start right here with a graphite line using my pencil on the side, not as a writing tool right now. And you see I go right over my pen marks. This is quite a heavy mark. A lot of shading I'm adding here. I want this to have the illusion of really being rounded. The only way that we can really get that is to go around it, right into that seam, and then out into the picture just a little bit. So don't be shy, be heavy-handed with your shading. The softer the graphite you have, the easier it's going to be. And just make sure you don't get your finger in it, right? Or your cuff of your shirt if you're up north here like me. Okay, I really do want to add some shading around the snake. I want him to, or her, to be lifted off the page. To do that, I'm going to have to get some shading on here. You can see I'm following along pretty close to his body again. Well, I guess it's a boy. I keep saying his. My snake is a boy. Who knew? When I started this, I didn't know it was a boy. Oh my goodness, I think I took my silly pill for breakfast. I hope you're laughing along with me and enjoying this too, while we're working together. Sometimes I put a piece of paper between me and the work that I'm doing, because if I'm using a soft lead and our Zentangle pencils are 4Bs, then you don't want to end up smudging and smearing it in places you don't want it to go. Okay, so that's kind of what I had in mind for shading, but I also, if you've noticed, do some shading here too, so that it isn't so flat, because I really think that it looks quite flat the way it is. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to take just a minute and get the shading on here. Looks like I used the wrong one. I'm just going to shade around the inside. Oh, good, I didn't. I always make several copies for everybody, and I thought I forgot my whole point of this thing, my Chinese New Year. So just around the outside edges here of the inside square. The outside edges of the inside square. If you have the capacity to kind of turn your pencil, instead of making it a square, that is kind of where we're going, and it's certainly personal preference. Your personal preference is what this is all about, not mine. I'm just your guide. Shading can take as long as drawing from time to time. I have run into some wonderful shading books along the way, and if anybody's interested in that or learning more shading, just please send me a text or a message, or hop over to Emmy's Zen Friends. Put some music on here a minute too. There we go, that's nice. Okay, so blender stomp, and let's get spreading and smudging this out. Start wherever you like. I'm here, so I'm gonna start, and look, I'm gonna radiate this in a little bit. So it's real dark at the edge, but then I do want to circle in. And I'm trying to make sure that this shading line no longer is delineated. So it kind of goes in. See what I'm doing here? Trying to make it push in and diffuse into the paper so that I've got real dark, real lighter gray, and then it goes into the white of the paper. We need all three colors because it would just be weird if your paper just turned out gray. And just as weird as not having it color at all. That would be weird too. But this can certainly add a ton of dimension. And if you're a shader and you know what you're doing and you want to do more with this, feel free. I'd love to see what you're doing out there if you have a chance to show me. Oh my, that's pretty. Okay, next the snake. And that is him. Our snake is ready for prime time viewing. So thank you so much for following along with me. And I appreciate your being here. And the next video will be all about adding color. So thanks again. Bye.